But we'll probably have more time here for questions. Hopefully you guys got some questions we can help you out. A few of the things that happen, first of all, the guys that are customers already, everybody knows that we've had horrible issues getting parts, and so everything is slowed down. We're still marching along, but getting parts in, it's all dictated how fast things go based on how quickly we get parts in. Things like rod in, things like that are a huge issue. And I have a little story that will help you understand how big the deal is. Rod in, I'm sure that the rod in is or not, but it's a little ball on the side. And our helicopter is 42 of those. I actually had a call from Boeing to see if they could buy one rod in from me. Now, if Boeing, who has Almighty God, can't find a rod in, where's the God that didn't see those guys? So it puts it into perspective as to how part shortages have been over the last couple of years since COVID. The good news about that is, I just seen a report 2 weeks ago that last month manufacturing production in the U.S. is the highest last month it's been in a year. So hopefully this is gonna start getting caught up. So that's the goal. We are getting stuff, it's just slow in getting, so it slows everybody down. So that being said, I thank you for your patience. I know it's tough because everybody's like to pick up a new toy on Christmas morning. They want it now, and I get it, but that's what we're doing. So new stuff that we're working on. One of the biggest thing is this is actually a fly-by-wire. I know this scares a lot of people, fly-by-wire stuff, but you have to keep in mind the fly-by-wire has been going on for 50 years. Very reliable. Everybody's modern day automobile. Can't hear you. Okay. No. So this is an upgrade that we're working on with the 290s. So everybody asks about governors all the time on the birds. We don't really currently have the governor. So Matthew has been working on this. This is actually a fly-by-wire, and it will be a redundant system. All inputs and everything is redundant on it. But it'll have the same fuel injection spin lead machine that ours out. Take the same fuel injection system. But this is actually way more accurate than having manipulated a mechanical drive. Set it go, very reliable. So that's one of the major points we're working on. The other thing that I'm going to try to do over the course, I don't know exactly how long it's going to get this done. Obviously, we get this stuff done, we've got to put it on a bird. This is like 2 years in work. Yeah, this is a 2-year project so far. So it's probably at least another year before it's set up. It is something we're working on. People ask about governors all the time.
Will that be able to be retrofitted?
It will be retrofitted.
American made.
Say it. American made. Well, it's Bosch, so that's German made. Okay. But Bosch is very high quality. You know anything about fuel systems, Bosch is like very high grade. So it's all Bosch. The throttle obviously has to be changed. There's no mechanical, it's all wire. So that's probably at least a year out. The only other thing that I'm going to start working on, and haven't had a chance to do it, is on the 290s, on the fan belt. If you let the fan belt get loose on the slack side, well, let it get out of here. Don't keep proper tension on your fan belt. A lot of guys just don't pay attention to the fan belt because they're more concerned about the drive belts. And it's easy to get. When you do the pre-flights, you got to remember there's belt out there. You have to check that. But if you let it get slack, you know how that works. One side is loaded, the other side is slack. So when they get loose, that slack starts vibrating quite a bit. And where it's positioned, because there's a fan directly under it, every time one of the fan blades come by that thing, there's a pulse of air that flows as well. So for every revolution, there's 8 pulses there. So that means you can get in a quite fine with it. And if you don't pay attention to that, don't keep that thing taut, it'll actually get to the point where it'll roll that belt right off that thing, and you're flying all of a sudden it's going to be run high. So the cure that I'm going to try to come up with is a belt tensioner idle culprit on the slack side. So it'll be always under tension. That way, if you don't quite catch it on time, at least it will absorb that slack and there's a whole lot of chance that it'll come
I
off.
think I got that on my lawnmower.
Yeah.
That tensioner thing.
Yeah, it's very similar, like on the mower, that same kind of thing. But the bigger the belt gets, the more slot you get. Even though that belt's not very big, it's turning a lot of RPM. It's over 6,000 RPM, and that's when thing didn't get slack, and it's those pulses that are being blown by the fan. The fan just misses that belt by about that much. So every time that thing comes by, it's just like hit, so it gets into the whip. So to try to mitigate, and it hasn't happened that often, but we've had a couple guys do it. And so it just tells me that, we can probably fix this just with an eye to the forward. So that may be an upgrade that comes up, over the course of the next year or so for that. Well, if you've been on the website or the forum, yeah, you've already heard the announcement.
It's on the maintenance and safety advisory side of the
Yeah. So if you have a 285 or 290, all of them are not an issue, but we don't know how many could be or could be. So the recommendation is pull the clutch. And what has happened over the years, originally John had figured, we cut the crankshaft on it to 290. You guys may not realize that, some of you may not. So we have to cut it to the proper height. So John, when he 3D modeled that, he came up with the dimension that we have to cut off in order to really fit. We've been using that measurement all this time. Now we did have, where they were building that engine, they had a factory change for where they built it. And I don't know if that's where the problem started or what, but some of them, the dimension that we cut it at wasn't quite enough. It's enough you can get the clutch on, you can bolt it on, everything else, but in the inside of the clutch, it's a taper, it's a 10-1 taper, and on the inside of the clutch is a radius on that. If you want a hard edge, because that's a stress point. So there's a radius. So if the crankshaft ends up 10 thousandths, 20 thousandths too long, it'll go down on there, it feels like it fits, and you put the bolt in it. The problem is when you crank down on it, tight it for that interface fit, if it happens to touch the corner of the crank touches that inside corner of that clutch, it's actually putting a little bit of a bind on the clutch. Now, it's more likely not enough you ever know it's flying, you never feel the vibration on the out. What it is doing is, the bolt that goes through the center that's pulling it all down, it's putting that bolt under a slide of the line. Over time, you're going to fatigue the bolt right? So, rather than say, well, we don't think that one did it, but we think this one is, to be safe, what we did is we issued an AD that said, if you've got a 285 or 290, just pull the clutch. Look on the inside of the clutch. If it is hitting, there's going to be a mark. And if there is, it's just a matter of grinding the clutch down, or the crank down, so you got the clearance, put a new bolt in, because if it has been hitting and the old bolt's in there, there's a chance it could be fatigued. Better to catch it now before it happens in flight or something. But you could just lose power all of a sudden. You have the option to do it in auto, so you may not be in that right spot to do it. So, safe bet is, if you have one, pull it, look at it. If you have any questions on it, we can help you out. I want to say, blades, our blades, we just pick and button blades. We've got the blade thing nailed down really well. We just set a blade. Anyway, we just ran a set of blades. They were within 1.5 grams before we got it. So we had got them suckers nailed down. And our full test, what we did on it, we test every one. We make test samples of every blade. We make the blade too long, so we cut test samples out. We have a rig at the shop, go take the tour to see, in a hydraulic press where we pull apart the structure, see what it pulls at. The tower furnace that they're pulling at is at the highest part of the scale on manufacturers because they're saying you can't get any higher than that. And it's actually 2 times higher than the original blades we were buying from Roadhouse Dynamics before we replaced it. So the blades are really good about it. The very strong. We've done a 30,000-pound temperature test on them. Blades did not fail. Pulling them at 30,000 pounds, but the mounting bolts, it starts to deform the bolt. Now, put it in perspective, if you're flying at 100% RPM, that blades weigh 8,400 pounds, and they've been tested for 30,000 pounds, no fail. Now, the odds of you ever getting to 30,000 pounds is not ever getting enough centrifugal load. Like, say you went into an auto, and your blades start to spool up. You're never even going to get to 30,000 pounds. Because what happens is it's going to start to overspool, but the drag starts coming. So if you look at the drag formula, the formula is cheap. So for every horsepower you add, 4 times that in order to make that happen. So the drag starts kicking in, so the RPMs of the blade will never get to the point where it's actually 30,000 pounds below. So we know we're well over on that. So that's good. They fly absolutely fantastic. I've got to the point where every time I have to test fly, I want to play on a haze. But all the time we had them, I could never bother me because I didn't know it was better. But now that I know, it's kind of, it gets at me a little bit. But they fly very well. They take less power from same size blade, but actually more tip weight than the old blade. It's got more inertia in it all. So very light on the clutches. Not a heavy blade on. When you had come up with a trim set in put on, from all the sections we run so far, we have to run an index. So, coming out pretty much from our line. Brand perspective, you're talking about 17 pounds worth of blades, and the two of them come within 1 point. That's how they're built second. So, that's how close we're getting.
And also they're balanced, and also selection times to pair them up as a pair, you can match the balance.
We have center gravity balance on all of them, structure test on all of them. Everything is logged, they're all serial numbers. Even the cooking time in the oven, that's all logged. We take that data the entire time the plane's being made, it's structured in the computer with the serial number, with all the structure testing, all that's logged in, so we have a nice log of that, like either one of those places at any time. So if you ever had a problem with the blade, and we got a serial number, we can tell you exactly when it was built, how it was built, what the structure test shows, the whole nine yards. Do you want to add?
A couple things on the admin side. We've been getting a bunch of spammers selling other people's helicopters. We try to delete them, but if you see something, you go, I look at that picture. I know that guy, and it says it's for sale, and you know, mine's been for sale a couple times. Not really, but but they post it, and then say, well, we're just trying to show the helicopter bull crap, So just be aware of that if you're on a forum, and let myself or Mike know, and then we could go in and
One of our customers just got nicked for $2,000 for some guy said he had out on sale. He took like $2,000 to hold for him just to cut in that helicopter. So he lost $2,000. So just if you're looking for a used ship, the best thing you can do, get the serial number, call us. Every serial number we have on file. And we can tell you who the original builder was, what options were on it originally. And we don't always, if it's been sold 2 or 3 times, we always don't have that trail, but we can verify, when it was originally built at. Was it a 285? Was it a 290? Was it an XE, XEL, or a turbine? We can tell you everything about that bird when it was originally shipped and who it was shipped to. And so if a guy's telling you I'm the original builder, we can tell you, it'll just kind of help you from getting in trouble.
We also provide services. We will do a pre-buy on it for you and give you an idea. Well, is it worthy of what they want or not? Also, we've been looking at. We're constantly evolving the ECU program Matt and I are working on because we're trying to expand the boundaries on where that ECU operates. So make sure that your ECU, if you've got a 285 or 290. Make sure that you've got the latest programs on there, it's a matter of updating the program. And, if we've got a change, we'll put it out there, we have a change, so we know.
If there's an update, they'll put it.
It's just,
we will
provide that, like I'll find an issue, usually, Usually I don't like finding them, but, you know, if we know of one, then we will update that, and we'll put it on the forum, and I'll give it on the Facebook side. So we're kind of in the same boat as far as programming is on machines.